Now, before we get started today, a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Careerist. And if you've ever thought, I'd love to pivot into a career in tech, but I just don't know how to code, then this is for you, because Careerist QA Bootcamp is actually one of the most accessible ways to break into a tech career. You'll get live training from experts at companies like Google and Meta, a remote internship that you can put on your resume, and a one-on-one career coaching to help you actually land the job of your dreams. And the demand is huge too. There are over 37,000 QA openings in the US alone right now, with starting salaries of up to $105,000. And graduates are working in 42 different states, and the program is rated 4.7 stars on Trustpilot. And best of all, if you don't get hired within a year, you get your tuition fees back. Seems like win-win to me. But the only catch is the seat for the next cohort are closing soon. That's why I'm working with Careerist to get the message out. So please check the link in the show notes to grab your spot. And now, let's get today's conversation started with my guest. What does it really take to rebuild an entire industry where 40% of payments can fail before a customer even gets their pizza? And what does resilience look like when a founder has to pick themselves up after one of the toughest years of their life? Well, my guest today, he's a CEO and co-founder of DEUNA, a company that has grown to process nearly a third of Mexico's online GDP. And I want to learn more about how they went from a one-click checkout idea to building intelligent payment infrastructure, and how their AI engine is helping merchants turn complexity into strategy, and why resilience is at the heart of all entrepreneurship. This, for me, is one of those conversations that has it all. We're going to learn about the technology, but we're also going to blend real-world business grit with some truly inspiring lessons along the way. But no spoilers from me. Let me introduce you to my guest now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Amazing. Thank you very much for having me, Neil. I'm Roberto Kafati. I'm the CEO and co-founder at DEUNA. We're building the next generation of commerce for all the merchants, especially now in the United States. Athia is our payments-powered reasoning engine. She's built to drive growth across the entire business. She's aware of every single transaction, every single data point as it happens in real time. And she adapts to your team and starts thinking and helping your team think, but not only think, also act. And that's what's been very exciting. She can connect the dots and turns complexity into strategy. It all began actually, Neil, with our checkout and our payment infrastructure, and our clients asking us, hey, you have a lot of data because you're powering a one-click checkout and you're powering all of our transactions across your orchestration engine. What can you do with that data? And we went out and we showed them all the data that we had. And they were like, hey, this is very cool. This was about 2.5 years ago. But I'm not going to sit down and look at 400 dashboards every day. You got to tell me which one matters and why and what to do about it and help me do it. And I'm like, you want anything else? And they're like, no, that would be it. And so we started building that about 2.5 years ago. And that has led to a lot of our success over the last year.
Wow, what a great story. And I also read that you launched the company after your a big part of it was when your family's retail business nearly collapsed during the pandemic. And I think that is a story that will resonate with people all around the world. So from your side, there in New York, how did that experience shape your approach to building a fintech infrastructure?
That's a great question, Neil. So yes, DEUNA started actually because both my co-founder and my family went through a very rough period at the beginning of COVID. We are both in the fast food space, and overnight, 80% of the business's revenues disappeared. And the remaining 20% was occurring through third-party aggregators, marketplaces, delivery apps. That they're amazing. I use them every day, don't get me wrong. But as a business, you have to have your own channels and you have to diversify, right? You can't just rely on a single third party player charging you 20+% fees. And so, because of that, we wanted to level the playing field, both of us. And that's where the mission started with DEUNA. We wanted to help merchants, brands, be able to have the same capabilities as the largest players in the industry that were selling online directly to consumers, without losing control, without losing margins, and keeping their relationship with consumers. That is why when I was at McKinsey and COVID hit, my family called me and I was like, I'm not like, I got to do what I got to do. And I went, and we started the company. Also, about a week or 2 weeks afterwards, Stanford called me and they're like, also, you're in. So I decided to do both at the same time. And my co-founder moved to California with me.
Wow, that is, oh man, so you managed to do both at the same time. Kudos to you there. And one of the things that I love about recording this podcast every day is sharing successful tech stories and the impact of technology outside of Silicon Valley and all around the world, and shine a light on that. And obviously, Latin America presents a huge opportunity for digital payments, but also there's a lot of major fragmentation there. So, what are some of the biggest challenges business face when trying to scale across that region?
That's a great question, Neil. And I think that it actually still is very related to the previous one.
Yeah.
The first part is to also answer the second part of your last question, we grew the business by first finding a mission, which was how do we level the playing field? And then we grew the product and evolved the product by listening to our merchants. And our merchants, the ones that were having the most difficulties, were in Latin America. While we were in California, a lot of these merchants in Latin America didn't have a clue. Here in the United States, you had delivery, like you had apps, you had websites that worked. Over there, they didn't. And a lot of that reasoning was because of the complexity of online payments and the fragmentation that they had, more than so just the platform. There was a lot of like Shopify's out there. VTEX is amazing, for example, extremely good partner. But at the end of the day, like the difficulties of having a very good user experience so that the users would come back to that direct to consumer channel for that merchant was lacking. And to give you even a sense of that, you have so many countries, right? And each country has different providers, payment providers, fraud providers, some PSPs, some gateways, some directly acquirers, and you have to connect all of them. And businesses should just focus on building or doing whatever is best for their users, but they shouldn't be building pipelines or rails direct to the banks. That's someone else's job, and that's where we stepped in. And what we saw, why these merchants in Latin America were so interested was one, they had a large R&D of building all of these connections and maintaining them, but also these connections were flaky, Neil. So unlike the US where you have 95% plus acceptance rates, in Latin America, you have around 50 to 60% acceptance rate, meaning that over 40% of all payments are denied. Think about it this way, Neil. Let's say that you are already in your couch. You ask your family, hey, what do you want to eat? You fight a little bit, like teasing. You agree on a pizza. You get out of your couch. You get your credit card. You put it in there. You put your address. And then they tell you that the payment is denied. That happens 40% of the time plus. And so that is where we realized that it was not only just doing the connections, but actually fixing the gap by providing alternatives and by providing redundancies for these merchants to actually recover those transactions without the user even knowing, to be able to give them an experience so that they didn't go to a delivery app or a third-party marketplace, but they actually stayed in there. And so what started as a one-click checkout dream, because that's how we started, and we quickly realized that to power a one-click checkout, we're not Shopee, so we can't force everyone to use Stripe, right? We had to connect everyone. And then all the brands telling us that I'm interested in, but also seeing a second wedge there, which is their acceptance rates were very, very bad. And so we had to build orchestration engine to actually solve that. And so I think that both of those questions are related because our story is really of how do we level the playing field, one, and two, listening constantly to the merchant to see what can we do in the position we're at.
So DEUNA is described as this payment orchestration platform. And for people listening, maybe they are unfamiliar. What does it mean in practical terms? We mentioned and highlighted a great use case there, a great problem, and well, a disappointing problem. 40%. I'd go crazy if I just wanted my pizza and it was failing 40% of the time. But tell me about how you're improving that checkout experience.
Okay, that's amazing. Before we go on to that, let's not call the DEUNA payment orchestration platform. We are the best, if not among the best orchestration platforms. Yes, that is not our business. I think that orchestration is going to get commoditized, and we're leading the charge in commoditizing orchestration because I don't believe that that's a business long term. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's leave it there. We work with the largest airlines in many countries, largest fast foods, retailers, two of the top 5 movie chains worldwide. So like we are very advanced payment infrastructure, but I don't think that payment orchestration is a business, it's a feature. And I think that that's gonna cause some comments there, but I do agree on that, and I feel very strongly about that. Now, what we solved in that stage of the business, that was about 2.5 years ago, was okay. So let's say that a processor, do you want to name one, Neil? I work with everyone, so they're my partners. I don't want to name one and say that they rejected a transaction. Can you give me one, please?
What, like Stripe, for example?
Let's go with Stripe. So let's say that Stripe says no to your first transaction. The user, you already got out of the couch. You put the credit card in the checkout, right? And you click buy. That goes into the back end, that goes into Stripe, and Stripe says no. That happened 40%, not saying that Stripe rejects 40%, but that would happen 40% of the times of the experiences in Latin America. So what we did is we allowed the merchant to very quickly, no code, be able to say, if Stripe says no, under these rules, for Visa transactions in Mexico, send them to BBVA or OpenPay. Or if this is an Amex card, a US Amex card, I want to use my credentials with Amex US directly. It's probably cheaper. You avoid pass-through fees. Or if Neil is already a known user, like we already know Neil because Neil has bought 10 pizzas before, they'll use the anti-fraud engine. Like, I know Neil. Why am I going to pay someone to tell me whether it's Neil or not, especially if I already have your device fingerprinted? So that is where we started to really see that very advanced and flexible payment infrastructure could deliver a lot, and orchestration by default, but infrastructure doesn't just contain orchestration. We also do reconciliation, settlement, etc., subscriptions. And what we realized was that there was a lot of value there, Neil, but I do think that that value is going to get commoditized over time. And although it is going to get commoditized over time, if we could have built, and we built the best that we could for the merchants that we work with, then we would earn their trust in their most important point, which is their checkout. And whoever earns that trust and can deliver on that commitment, I think is in the best position going forward the next 5 to 10 years. And we can talk more about that. But that relates more to the data and AI angle that I was telling you about Athia.
And we've talked about pizzas today. I'm feeling hungry, but you've worked with so many other huge brands, household names from Levi's to KFC and Sony, for example. So I'm curious, from all these brands' perspectives, what kinds of measurable business results have they seen? What's driving that impact when they're working with you?
That's a great question. So let's talk about the different products. First, you remember we started with our one-click checkout, right?
Yeah.
Our one-click checkout, it already powers a significant number of merchants. In over 5 countries, we have double digits of the online GDP. Okay, and up to 30% of the online GDP of Mexico goes through our payment infrastructure and our checkout. In many cases, this one-click checkout experience for merchants that are already ramped up is delivering an increase of over 30% in conversion rates. So that's the first one. The second part, that's because we authenticate seamlessly the users, very similar to a Stripe Link or a ShopPay, etc. Now, on the second part, the payment infrastructure and the orchestration engine allows us to route the transactions however the merchant wants. And in this case, we have already shown that we can recover 15% of all GMB, like it, and on top of that, also save merchants on fees by allowing them to be more efficient on their strategies. And that has allowed us to show, like for example, a Sony, that's one of our merchants, a 15x ROI. So that those are some of the metrics that we can share right now. On top of that, Neil, over the last year, like I told you that we grew up to 30% of the online GDP of Mexico. We've grown over 24x. And this pace of growth is still happening. The DEUNA is growing every single month, and we are very confident in where we're going. But those are a little bit about the two products that are mainly out there right now. The third one would be the intelligence aspect and the AI aspect of it.
It's phenomenal what you've achieved here, because I'm hearing every single day about different AI projects that are either caught in pilot phase or failing to deliver ROI. And simply being able to sit there and say, well, we give 15x for Sony is just a huge achievement, a huge ROI, of course. And with online sales expecting to drive more than 30% of business revenue, how can companies listening, how should they be preparing to make sure that they're ready for this big shift?
So, Neil, question: Have you seen Iron Man? Are you a big Marvel fan? I am a huge Marvel fan.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're going to get my own Jarvis within the next 12 months. You know.
Okay, I think users are already very close to that, like consumers. From a perspective of like ChatGPT 5, it's amazing. I've been playing with it for the last week. Like very, very cool. Shout out to OpenAI there. And a lot of other models that are also doing very good. But I think that the big problem here, Neil, is not only on the online like sales that are gonna drive over 30% of business revenues, is on all of those projects that you mentioned that are stuck at the POC stage, because they're all trying to build a sexy thing. They're all trying to build Jarvis. We built her. It took me 2.5 years. And to build her for merchants, what really was the issue is merchants have a lot of data. They have a lot of data, but it's not AI ready. Let's talk Palantir. So Palantir, what do? They do, like, they send a couple, almost 10, 8 forward deployed engineers for several months, up to a year, right? And they connect all of your siloed data, all of your fragmented data onto their ontology layer Foundry. And then they train a machine learning algorithm on it, and then they charge you millions of dollars for it. Amazing, right? And they've done a very good business. Shout out also to Alex and his team. Now, what if you could productize that? Who controls all the data points on the transaction? PayPal only sees users buying at Domino's with PayPal, or at any merchant. But the checkout provider, the orchestration engine, we extract 638 data points per transaction, and we give them to the business in an AI-ready fashion. That allowed us to build Jarvis for the merchants, and that is called Athia. That is what we're rolling out right now with select merchants, and that's what's driving our US go-to-market. That is where I think businesses need to be at to be actually able to compete and level the playing field. That's the ultimate level playing field tool for businesses to identify revenue leaks, to optimize routing, to make smarter decisions, and to really empower their teams to be aware of what's happening in real time.
And I think for businesses everywhere that know where they need to be, maybe want to be joining this, the problem that many have is infrastructure in emerging markets in particular is often fragile or outdated. And I think everywhere in the world there's a problem with legacy tech and a build-up of technical debt. So what does it take to build these digital systems that are both resilient and scalable under these conditions and ensure that they don't get left behind?
I think that there's two components to your question, Neil. The first one is scalable and resilient and flexible infrastructure. Yeah. There are players like ourselves that provide that. And that is like amazing. And global players, major airlines, major entertainment players in the US, we're talking to them and they're talking to other players as well. They are looking for that because they don't want to have a team focusing on developing the wallets in India or the acquirers in Brazil or Pix in Brazil with Pix Automático all of a sudden. Like, That's not their job. Or like Visa and MasterCard changing the rules in April right now, putting fees like in terms of penalties. Like you have to update your entire strategy every time that happens. And that's not their job. So having that flexibility to be able to do that, like that's one. Now, having intelligent infrastructure, that's a totally different game. And no one has that yet except us right now. And what do I mean by intelligent infrastructure is being able to get all the flexibility, the scalability, and the resilience of the first point that I was mentioning, but really leverage AI for businesses in the sense that she can tell you, hey, this processor in this country is already reaching a limit of fraud chargebacks. You should change this strategy to avoid the extra bit penalties from the networks, for example. Or, hey, you're having a lower acceptance than usual with this processor and this mid on your recurring transactions. That's going to cause users to churn. Be careful. You should change it here. Do you want me to change it? That's totally different than having a team, because once you're a global player, Neil, you have over 100 countries. In each country, you have more than 2 providers, right? And how are you going to track that real time? You're going to find out that something happened 2 weeks from now. And by then, it might have been already fixed, but you had a revenue leakage for 2 weeks. And there's a lot of experiences that are damaged there, a lot of users that will not trust that merchant again, and that will rather go through an aggregator or a marketplace, which is, again, what we are trying, or our mission is to level the playing field for everyone.
And I think there are so many different reasons why what you've achieved here is just phenomenal. I mean, you've grown DEUNA through economic uncertainty and regional complexity. I'm curious, if you look back over the last 5 years, what lessons have you learned about leadership, focus, and building for the long haul with that big vision? You must have been on quite a journey here. What are the biggest lessons you've learned, would you say?
That's a deep question, Neil. So DEUNA, like I can get personal here. I don't know if the team is gonna be happy, but I think that it's better that we explain the whole story so that everyone understands what we went through.
Yeah.
I think entrepreneurship is deeply romanticized, Neil. I think that a lot of people see the grass is greener on the other side and are not aware like of what it really entails. And everyone says that they want to build something until they're actually building it. And I would tell you that startups don't fail because of a lack of funding. They fail because of a lack of resilience. It is way tougher than it looks out from the outside. And on top of that, like I would tell you that, 9 out of 10 days, it's like getting kicked in the guts. Let's call it that instead of saying the other word. But the 10th day, that makes it all worth it. And like the nature of building something from scratch tests you in ways that no one can prepare you. Not the best schools, not the best careers. It really will test the mettle and the founding team, not just the co-founders, on the founding team, on the leadership of the company. And it comes with invisible costs that no one tells you about. It comes with the pressure of waking up every day and choosing to make it real, to make it happen. That's not for everyone. And here to get a little bit even more personal, in 2023, Neil, we had already been working on the company for many years, multiple years now. And we had the toughest year yet. It was a year after our fundraise in 2022 May. And it was the toughest year for the company and for myself personally. That I would tell you the truth, like we didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel for many months. Personally and personally and professionally. The company hadn't grown. We had decreased revenues even. We were losing deals. We were not winning deals. Personally, I went through a very tough breakup. Like it was bad. Like one thing led to another, and it was just when shit hit the fan, it really hits it. Like, but resilience got us through it. The leadership staying together and really saying, hey, we're going to do this as a team. That kept us together. Our investors, wow, like they stood by us. I remember like he gave me a hug after a year of not growing the company, and told me, look, I know what happened. I know what's happening. I believe in you. I believe in the team. Bet the house on a 2-year vision and go make it happen. And when someone tells you that, and someone trusts you with that, you're gonna go out. And that's what we did. And since then, instead of decreasing the company by what 7% in a year, in the last 24 months, we've grown it over 200x. So that's a little bit of what happened in our story. And it all goes back to resilience. It all goes back to the team. It all goes back to choosing the right people to support you. It's not only about money, it's about the team and the mission and making it happen. And I think that the principle that drives us is you endure those 9 days for that one day that reminds you of why you started. And to make it, you need that resilience. You need that emotional, mental, and physical resilience.
Wow, what a powerful story. And I cannot thank you enough for sitting down and being brave enough to share that story with me. And I, for one, feel so much more impassioned about this than if you started your intro and just said, hey, this is what I do, and I'm 200x at the moment. Because I think very often in popular culture, we often celebrate the winner at the top of the mountain, the person that's achieved 200x, but we don't talk about the grit, the resilience, the grind, the need to learn lessons, the endurance, the need to pull together as a team to successfully climb up the mountain. That's where the winning is done, as Rocky would say. That's where all the magic happens. But we don't talk about it enough. We don't share stories like this enough. And I suspect along the way there were a few funny and interesting stories. Some you are able to share, others you're not. So what is the funniest or interesting story that you could maybe share during that climb up the mountain?
During the climb of the mountain, let me think about that. But I was actually thinking of how it all started.
Okay.
And it was at a party, Neil. So I met my co-founder at a party. I was visiting my cousin, and I said hi. He has a twin brother, right? I say hi to my cousin. I say hi to the twin brother, and I see this guy. Like, there's a lot of people at the party, but I see someone in the kitchen. Like, I'm gonna go say hi. They tell me that's his brother, like the twin brother. They own the house, so like, I'm gonna go say hi. And I see him, and he's in the phone. He's on his computer. He's stressed, and I'm like, hey, what's up? My name's Roberto, and he's like, dude, I can't talk right now. I'm in something very important. I'm like, okay. And he's like, go away. Like, hey, I'll see you afterwards. I'm like, okay, but like, what are you doing? He shows me, I need to submit this computer assignment like in the next 10 minutes. Like, I'm very good at that. And he goes, really? Like, yeah, let me take it. He had an extra comma. I did the comma and we went out. And that's how we got to know each other. And that's how we like started our friendship. About a year and a half later, COVID hits. And we are also put in touch by that same cousin because Jose Maria Chema, we call him Chema, they call me Reks, wanted to start a company also with the same mission of helping merchants level the playing field. And one thing led to another, and we started the company together. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that party. I don't know if I would have been here without our investors, without our team, especially without Chema. So I think that it's funny how things happen, but like they happen for a reason, and that reason only is very clear in hindsight. They say that hindsight is 2020, and I can tell you that that's certainly true.
Yeah. Oh man, that was one of those hair on the back of the neck moments. So one of the things I love about that story is it's not the first I've heard. I've done 3,500 interviews on here, and I never cease to be amazed that the amount of huge successful tech projects begin with sitting next to the right person on a plane, at a bar, at a party, at a luggage carousel. It's almost like the universe will give us all that little nudge in the right direction when we need it, when we're looking for it, or maybe not looking for it. But we do need to be open to these ideas to take it forward. You could have quite easily just walked past that room and left the guy working away on his computer, but you chose not to.
I don't know if you would have found a comma, but don't tell him that, Neil.
But you would
no, but Neil,
man.
that, but like also, it also plays into the story of of like the climbing the mountain to answer your question. Jose Maria, like Chema, after we found the company that's already like early 2020, May 2020, he also moves to California and we become roommates. Like, and we live together 24/7 for the last 5 years. We joke that we're married without a prenup, and it's only a half joke because it's real. But I think that also drives a lot of what we do at DEUNA. We have a global talent that we believe that talent is geographically distributed. Not everyone is in the valley, unlike contrary to popular opinion. And we like to find the best people, especially those that once you give them an opportunity, they're gonna go out fully forward. But still, I would tell you that at the core of the DEUNA team, there's a lot of friendship because of my relationship with Jose Maria and how we've led the company over the last 5 years.
Wow, I think that's a powerful moment to end on. But before I let you go, for anyone listening wanting to find out more information, I suspect there'd be more than a few after listening to your origin story there and some of the things that happened along the way. And it's truly inspiring. But anyone that wants to find out more, where would you like to send them?
And happy to like reach out. Like I do answer all my LinkedIn messages, so that would be the first place. Especially any founders going through rough times, like happy to provide advice. The second part I would tell you is deuna.com. Where there merchants can request a demo. Merchants can also reach out on LinkedIn. Several have some of our largest players, like partners, occur because they see us on LinkedIn and they reach out. So feel free to reach out and I'll personally like answer. And I always love talking to people, merchants, partners, founders, people like yourself, Neil, that are thinking big and that want to take things to the next level. And I think that right now, Neil, we are at a moment in time where the rules of the game are going to be redefined, probably for the last time in a while. Agentic commerce is here. The merchants, the partners, the networks, everyone's talking. We're in the middle of the conversations right now of how they should interact, because otherwise the chatbots are going to replace your checkouts and your apps and your websites, and you're going to get disintermediated, right? So like anyone thinking about stuff like that, about how to level the playing field for the merchants in a future-proof way, or any other way that they're thinking big, love to chat with people and pick their brains and set them in contact and in touch with the right people that are also talking, because we're in the middle of a lot of conversations right now.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I'll post links to your LinkedIn and the website there, and so many big takeaways for me. But I think I'm just inspired by how your story blended personal grit with actionable business and tech insights, all in line with your mission to cut through all that buzzwords and myths, misconceptions and hype, and just highlight practical digital innovation with real ROI. Kudos to you, my friend. We'll stay in touch. I'll hopefully get to talk with you again very soon. But thank you for sharing your story today.
Thank you so much, Neil, for your time, and very excited to be here and share a little bit to everyone out there. Like 9 days are tough, but it's all worth it on the 10th day.
So what stood out for you today in our conversation? For me, it wasn't just the numbers. 200x growth in 2 years, 15x ROI for brands like Sony, even handling 30% of Mexico's online GDP. All these things are incredibly impressive. But for me, it was Roberto's honesty about the struggle, the resilience that he needed to push through, and how friendship and belief and maybe a nod in the right direction from the universe can all collectively play a critical role in shaping a company's future. So if you're a startup founder going through similar struggles, or just feel inspired by this conversation, or learn more about anything we discussed today, please connect with Roberto directly on LinkedIn. I'll put links to everything. And finally, as we enter this new era of agentic commerce, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. What role do you think resilience plays in building technology that lasts? As always, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just @Neil C. Hughes. And don't forget to check out techtalksnetwork.com. But that is it for today. So thank you for joining me, and I'll speak with you all again very soon. Bye for now.